Welcome to History of Bites, brought to you by 56 Media. I'm your host, Rich. Our aim is to bring you a little bit of knowledge about as many British towns as we possibly can. Now, being a lazy YouTuber, I've chose to start at the nearest town to me, which is the former Berkshire town, now Oxfordshire town of Abingdon-on-Thames. Now, we've called this first video the Tourist Guide. The reason being is what I'm going to cover is all the things that you might know about Abingdon before you even get here. So we're going to look at the Abbey, we're going to look at Abingdon Bridge, we're going to look at a few other things. So sit back, make a cup of tea and enjoy the programme. Abbey House is currently being renovated, but the person who gave the structure to the garden that you see today was a wine merchant called E.J. Trendle, who took over the place in around 1850, 1852. And he built the gardens, he cleared up the far end, there's an arboretum and some ruins. Now we're going to see all these things. And it's a beautiful garden, and it's 6 o'clock on a Sunday morning, so I hope you guys appreciate this. These are what are commonly known as the Abbey ruins, but they're not at all. It's actually a folly built by Trendle in the late 1800s. It was quite common in this period for people to put strange stuff in their gardens, like a tower or a cave, or in this case, ruins. Having said that, it's become impressive in its own right, except there's a few things that give it away, like pieces of window frame halfway up the post. But still, worth a visit. Please like, subscribe, give a little ding to that little old ding dong. It'll help me out, and the ding dong, well, that's for you. So, yeah, back to the video. The original abbey was a Saxon abbey, and when it was built in a state called Wessex in around 675. Now, it was built for 12 Benedictine monks in honour of the Virgin Mary, hence the church in the middle was called St Mary's. However, by 931, the King of the Angles, King Alfred, decided to sweep across the country from the east, and he took all the Saxon lands, and when he got here, absolutely flattened the abbey. But in a strange twist of fate, by 954, another king called King Edred appointed an abbot called Athelwold. Now, what Athelwold was he was one of the key people in the English Benedictine reform. So actually the abbey got a lot of investment at that time. However, 500 years later, Henry VIII would come along and flatten the place forever, and it was gone. And when Trendle owned the house, he made these beautiful lawns, and he also put the trees around the edge, which is commonly known as an arboretum. All these trees are North American, I think. Now, I'm not sure whether he would have been pleased or disappointed to know that in the late 20th century, the excavations were done and the foundations for St Mary's Church were found right here, and you can follow these all around here. The church itself was massive. Just judging by these lines, it was huge. What's confusing for some visitors is at the other end of Abingdon, there's a park called Albert Park. And in this park, we have Queen Victoria. So you'd have thought it had been Victoria Park. But no, that's not the case. It remained at the Abbey House, it remained Abbey Gardens. Queen Victoria was actually moved here during the First World War. She used to be in a market square, but she had railings around them, and when they were taking metal for the war effort, they took the statue as well and moved it for safety into the Abbey Gardens. Now, as you come out of Abbey Gardens and you go into the Abbey Meadows, on the left-hand side, just before the bridge, is this huge needle. Now, what the needle actually signifies is the spot where they used to impale witches. No, they didn't. I have no idea what this needle is for. What I do know is that it was made by a guy called Michael Fairfax as part of a £1.2 million development in 2007. And this cost £18,000. The lesson in the middle of the town was donated for free. Just saying. Now, I mentioned Athelwold before. In 954, he commissioned the building of this stream and the mill that it leads to. The stream itself is around a mile long, and it took 2 years to build. And they built it by hand. Well, kind of. They built it with picks and shovels. But it's still, nevertheless, it's an impressive feat. And we're going to look down the other end. The mill is further down that way. We're going to look at the mill in a bit. But first I want to show you the rest of Abbey Meadows. Now, Abbey Meadows is a huge place. This is the water park here. There's a swimming pool there that I'm not going to film. And at this time of day, I can film the children's park. There's a huge children's park here, just the other side of these trees. Just for information purposes, there's no children in it. I might even have a go down the slide myself. There's the children's park there. As you can see, quite a structure. And beyond the children's park, the meadow goes on for maybe half an acre, but there's a path that goes all the way round. Now over there is the weir, which is where we're going in a second, and then the path leads back round here along the river, and as you can see where these canal boats are here, there's a gate over there and it leads back up to here. Before we go to the weir, I would like to make one point. Often I'm riding over here on my bicycle and people will stand in my way as if to say, you know, you shouldn't be riding on the path or riding in the park. Now, this is a road. This is the footpath. The Abingdon Weir and Lock was built in 1790, and when they built it, they actually had to raise and widen Abingdon Bridge, or rather Burford Bridge. We will get to that in a second. But while I'm here, I'm not going to go all the way across the weir. There's a nice lockkeeper's house on the other side of here, but I'm not going to go all the way over there for the reason I'll end up in Cullum and this video will be about 3 hours long. And as much as you're enjoying watching it, I'm sure you're not going to enjoy it for that long. But isn't this beautiful? I mean, it's probably about 7:15 in the morning now. Someone's crashed their boat. Oh no, he's fishing. Fair play. Let's have a look down here today. For you fishermen, I'm not a fisherman myself, but I do know there is pike in here, there's perch, and apparently on one of the runs there's barbel. I think on the top part of the weir you can get carp. That was something swimming across the water right then. But it's a really nice spot for fishing. There's several little posts, places along the side, in order that you can fish here. And while I'm on here, this island here back in Victorian times was used for swimming, and at one end would be the women, at the other end would be the men, and children, they weren't allowed to swim. If you're to go back into the park from the weir and then walk along the river, you'll come down this path here, and right here is one of my personal favourite spots. Now, I used to sit here and do podcasts, comedy podcasts. Turns out I'm quite offensive. This is like a quay or a wharf. I'm not really sure what it is. I could tell you what it really is. It's broken. I didn't do it myself, and it's been broken for about a year. But it's a nice place to sit. You can't fish here because of the trees above. So in that respect, you get the spot to yourself. This building on the corner, it's lovely. And that's the town hall. We're going to look at the town hall soon. I'm going to take you for a little ride down Bridge Street, and I'm going to show you some of the places. Here you've got the Crown Thistle on the left here. Lewis Baker, which is a great traditional kind of store. It's a really nice store. And then you've got the best tandoori in Abingdon, Mahi. Mr. Mahi is a legend. Honestly, that guy's amazing. He always delivers with a smile. He's great. And then further down, you've got the Broad Face. Now, the Broad Face was called the Broad Face because it's opposite the jail. And apparently, when they hung people, their face swelled up, which is why it's called the Broad Face. And now we're at Abingdon Bridge. This here is a now extinct brewery from Abingdon, called Moreland's. We're going to talk about Benjamin Moreland in a minute. If you listen to the local radio station Jack FM, you will know there's always roadworks on Abingdon Bridge, especially in summer apparently. Okay, so as we come onto this bridge, what used to be here was the Borough Ford, and that was fed by a ferry that you pull across with a rope. But in 1422 they actually built the first bridge, and when they built the first bridge, this end of it was called the Hart Bridge, because right there used to be the Hart Inn. The other side of the bridge, the other side of the Nag's Head, that was called the Maud Hales Bridge, and Maud Hales was the wife of the man who had commissioned the bridge. In between the two bridges is the Nag's Head pub, and it's on Nag's Head Island. I'm going to give you a quick history of why it's called the Nag's Head. Okay, the story of the Nag's Head supposedly comes from America in the 1790s, but being as the term is in English, and there's plenty of places in England called the Nag's Head, I'm going to claim it as an English phrase. Now, the phrase comes when a nag is an old donkey or an old mule that is past its sell-by date, it can't carry loads, etc. So what they used to do is put them on islands or peninsulas and hang a lamp round their neck at night time. And of course, when you were rowing or sailing along the river and you saw the nag, the rest of the back of the body would be all blacked out. So all you would see is the nag's head. Great story, isn't it? Okay, now the Maud Hales Bridge, this one, actually leads to Cullen Bridge. Here's the thing though, it's not called the Maud Hales anymore. The first part of the bridge, the other side of the Nag's Head there, is called Abingdon Bridge. This bridge here is called Burford Bridge. Now if you know anything about Burford, Burford is actually a town that's in West Oxfordshire in the Cotswolds. And it actually ended up being called Burford Bridge through a lazy local accent, basically. You had the Borough Ford, Burford, and that's pretty much how it went. No joke, that is how it went. Now the bridge was built in 1422, as I said. In 1453, they actually changed the arches from pointed to a more sort of rounded Georgian style. In 1800, they widened this side of the bridge, the Maud Hales Bridge. In 1820, they widened the other side of the bridge. But in 1927, they actually rebuilt the whole bridge. Let's come across here. Now, if you follow this down, as it curves left, it goes to the marina, which we're going to see soon. And it also goes off into the River Ock. There's also another place called Swift Ditch, which I know it goes around the back here somewhere, but I don't actually know where it goes or where it is. This is the old jail in Abingdon, and it's jail spelt G-A-O-L. The other spelling, J-A-I-L, is an American spelling, and it's managed to find its way back here. But people who are sort of new to the area and haven't seen that kind of spelling before, they'll often call it the Goal, and it's not called the Goal. Now, the prison itself is of a kind of unique design. There was only a few prisons like it, which I guess would not make it unique. But building started in 1811. Now, Benjamin Morland in 1809 brought the Hart Inn, which was where this building is here. We have no idea how old the Hart Inn is, or was. There's speculation and a few dates, but they're inconsistent dates by hundreds of years, to be fair. And what he did is he moved the residents out, and then he knocked down the Hart Inn and built the jail. And he built it with the help of a guy called Daniel Harris. So building started in 1811, and they used Napoleonic prisoners, and it was in operation by 1844. However, only 23 years later, in 1867, it was actually condemned unfit for use, because there was the Prisoners Act, which demanded prisoners to have air and heating, and you couldn't retrofit air ducts and heating ducts to this prison. So in 1868, it was actually closed as a prison for good. Now, as I said, the jail itself closed in 1868, and towards the end of the 1800s it fell into disrepair, except the outer buildings. The outer buildings kind of survived a little bit better. And what happened was, up until the 1930s, people were using them as slums. Although some local people tell me that they were supposed to have took the slums away in the 1930s, but the slums were actually still here until the 1960s. In 1975, they actually turned this into a leisure centre. Many people who are from Abingdon learned to swim in this leisure centre. I'm not from Abingdon, so I didn't learn to swim here. But that closed in 2000 or 2001, and then it was made into these beautiful apartment blocks. And this is where the mill stream comes out. Underneath all these trees here, there's actually a route back into the river that way, around this island, which is called the Upper Reaches. I shall talk to you about the Upper Reaches right now. The Upper Reaches is a really old island, kind of. The mill was on the island. There's been loads of other things on the island, like a tannery and a workhouse. For those of you who aren't English or aren't European, a workhouse is pretty much slavery. If you were sort of, I don't know, drunk or homeless or something like that, they'd put you into a workhouse and you would work for food and board. And pretty much you would die there. People would have children there, and the children would also work in the cotton looms, because children managed to fit underneath the cotton looms. Many children died from something called a spinning jenny, which is basically a huge chunk of metal that moves along the loom. So look at the lovely lilies down here and a really nice bridge. Okay, my problem with the Upper Reaches. My problem with the Upper Reaches is you have developers who want to put something on the Upper Reaches. You have owners who want to control what the developers put on the Upper Reaches. And then you have the council that really just wants something on the Upper Reaches. Like, come on, guys. The whole time this historic island is actually crumbling. More so the other side, where the river affects it a bit harder. But also this side, it's, you know, the bushes are actually going through the walls and breaking down the walls. It's still got the old hotel on there, which is ridiculous. And there's plenty of fish down here. The other day I saw a lamp, and I think somebody's took it. Bugger. Okay, so we're going to walk along here. I'm going to show you where the mill stream comes out. It's nice and shady down here. But you see you've got buddleia growing out of the wall. That wall's going to be wrecked. Okay, you can hear where the stream's coming out. And this is where the mill stream comes out. Also, under here is the end of the River Sturt. A lot of people don't know that the River Sturt runs all the way underneath Sturt Street. It's like a sort of hidden river in Abingdon, if you like. While we're down here, I'm going to walk you through here. The Unicorn Theatre is the oldest surviving building from the original Abbey. It's really quiet down here. It's a different take on the Abingdon flag there. This is the Unicorn Theatre right here. I'll get a better view of it because this is kind of a newer end of it. Okay, the Unicorn Theatre is there. Now, if I can get the sun off, as you can see, it's red brick, mottle and daub at the top. Well, actually, no, it's sheets. It's canvas sheets. That's quite interesting. There is signs everywhere in Abingdon to show you what things are, but some things, obviously, they just don't put signs on them. We must talk about Abingdon's architecture and their habit of building on top of things, or knocking half a building down and then, like, building something else on the other half. This archway, where does it go to? I will find out. It seems a very odd thing. It could be that they really did just build half an arch, but I shouldn't think so. But then this arch on the outside seems to be older than the one behind me. Investigations for another day. Now we're back out going towards the bridge. Okay, now I'm going to take you down the area of St. Helens, which is, it's not a hidden area, it's just somewhere you probably wouldn't go to. So let's take a little cycle down there. This is the King's Head and Bell. That's a nice pub and hotel. These are kind of London style houses. The only places really I've seen these in Oxford are places like St. Clement's, Cowley Road, Jericho, those kinds of places. A lot of the buildings down here are really old. Right up until the 1800s, Abingdon was a real prosperous town through trade that basically came off of the river. Things like wool, things like that. Check out this old house here and the bow in the old house. Rather them than me. There's St. Helens Mews is down there. There's another place here. Sometimes this is open and you can go and sit in the garden there and they don't mind. It's a really nice area architecturally. I mean, the houses are amazing. Right down the bottom here, I'm not going to tell you anything about the church because I'm saving the churches for another programme. St. Helens Church here. There's been a church on this area since 995, but this particular building was built in 1180. And right here are some almshouses with a graveyard in front. That's not particularly, yeah, that's not going to make you well, is it? I don't know why I'm always quiet through churches. God can't hear me since I sold my soul. He doesn't listen to me anymore. It's possibly the reason why everywhere I go there's traffic. So this path leads out onto, I call it the Parade, I don't know what it's called, Parade Wharf. The only reason why I've come this way is to show you the old Anchor Inn, because it's a really, really old pub and it's worth a visit because it's got so much character in that pub. Okay, so let's go along the... It's only a small parade here, but there's some benches here and it's nice. It's nice because it's a quiet area of Abingdon, nobody really goes here. It's a nice place to just sit and relax, basically. At the end here is a slope where they pull boats up. I can't remember what they're called. This is the back end of the church. And right down here is some geese. I've just disturbed them, and a swan. What are you doing with the geese? You went one of them. And there's a sunken boat right there. But look at the river, and vaguely in the distance there you can just see the end of Abingdon Bridge. Or Burford Bridge. The first street I took you along was East St. Helens. This is West St. Helens. Now there is a board there that would tell me what used to be here, but I have noticed that down here and even all the way over there is all new buildings. There's some buildings that look like they may have used to have been factories, but they kind of look too new. So I will find out about that. It's not something as a tourist you'd go and see. You're not going to go and look at a block of flats, are you? In the 80s, like many English towns, they thought, yeah, let's do something new. And they created the most atrocious buildings in Abingdon. And they replaced really nice ones. There used to be a really old hotel in the centre of town, which was really nice. There used to be a cinema. No, that had to go. There was an old police station where they've now put like the ugliest cinema I've ever seen in my life. And of course in the centre of town where they knocked a whole street out, and actually built some horrible red brick arches and this just out of place car park. Really odd place. Okay, now we're on the High Street. The High Street in Abingdon leads directly onto Ox Street. And back there is the Town Hall, which I'm going to cover in a minute because various reasons. Down here are plenty of pubs. There's Tipsy Mercer behind me, the Narrows, which is actually a Witherspoons, although you wouldn't think so because it looks really nice. And this one is the Grapes, which is a more sort of a pub. It's a proper pub. And again, there we see the Moorland sign. We're going to go across that memorial now. It's the War Memorial in Abingdon. We're going to take a little walk around this. Let's see some of these names. Put them on the internet for prosperity, I suppose. Every name is a life. That's...
There was a wooden town hall here opposite the market square for over 1,000 years, but master mason Christopher Kempster and a guy called John Scarborough constructed the new town hall between 1678 and 1682. There's also a rumour that Sir Christopher Wren was involved, but there's no proof of that.
Okay, so that's the conclusion of the first video from 56 Media, the History Bites videos. These are only videos really to either sort of nod you in the right direction if you're going to do your own research, or if you actually come to Abingdon, it just makes the walk around a little more interesting. There's plenty more here that I didn't cover. No doubt I've got some dates wrong or something wrong in the actual course of the video. I'm sure you're going to put that in the comments for me. And the good thing about Abingdon is when you start talking about history, people start volunteering information. So I look forward to seeing that in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe and press the notifications. And I'll see you next time.